Welcome back, everybody, to the Pandicorn Gaming channel and to the September Showdown. Drakusan and Spartantano on the mics for you for this quarterfinal sets. We're going to be having some new casters coming in for the semifinals onward. Big shout out to Steel Asian Kyle and Husky, who's going to be taking our places. But Spartantano, we have seen Armorouge come out to play last game, not do so very well. what was your thought of Armorouge in that last game?
I think the thing is, like, they didn't have a fun game over on that side. Pocket Rockets were cooking, buddy. And I know we kind of questioned the Greninja, but boy, Pocket Rockets were really cooking. And I think it's hard to do well, even on a mon that is as broken as Armorouge when you are in that situation.
Yeah, I think one thing that Team Gore struggled to do, and I feel like their team composition does really well, is to play together, quite literally, right?
Mm.
They had a very bulky composition, and if they were able to just stay as a unit and move around the map and, play the game quite literally, as the title says, united, it would make it a lot more difficult for the Greninja to really get going, right? But when you devote like one character or two characters to defend a lane against a Machamp, that leaves you, more vulnerable for a Greninja to do very well. And I feel like that's where the Rockets excel in, is that you have to let this Machamp do what it wants to do, or it's just going to kind of steamroll you in the points. And I feel like they lost both fronts. They lost in points and they also lost in team fights.
Yeah, they really did, and it's difficult when you're up against a mon, right, that is doing the nuisance job that the
Mhm.
Machamp did, because everybody
Yeah.
just wants to stop it doing what it's doing, and you put so much resources in trying to chase it, trying to stop it
Mhm.
scoring, that it takes a lot away from any team fights coming along. And I feel like Pocket Rocket's really locked in with using that Machamp in that way. So maybe we'll see some more of that coming into these next games. Maybe a bit more Sableye. Greedent would be a ridiculous pick, but you never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, unfortunately, you don't see a whole lot of Greedent nowadays. I feel like the only Greedent players that are really out there is on your side of the pond, with Gatlu loving to play Greedent occasionally. But we're ready and getting off here into our winners quarters final match. This is going to be Revenant on our purple side and God Squad. Actually, no, it's going to be flipped around, actually. God Squad is our purple side team, and Revenant is on our orange side team. I don't know a whole lot about Revenant. I know they are from the Latam region. I do know quite a bit about God Squad. Of course, Zelut was on G, as you can see with their tag right there. They were a world qualifying player. I Love Zelut is actually anonymous. From God Squad previously. They are on the Pocket Rockets for the Indigo League, but these two players specifically have a lot of chemistry playing together on God Squad in the previous years.
Let's see if they can produce a God Squad in this pick. We do see the Mimikyu locked in straight away. Of Pikachu being banned, I think it's not been banned that often tonight with knowing how strong it can be, but they don't want to take it into this game.
Yeah, God Squad going to be picking up that Mimikyu. We saw one Mimikyu earlier on today. Didn't do so very well. I don't know if Mimikyu is really strong in that first pick option. I feel like with so many bulky characters in the roster right now, that's where Mimikyu really struggles, right? You really want to get those really quick KOs, get those resets on the Shadow Sneak, but Revenant doing a really good job here, adapting to that first pick Mimikyu, picking up really bulky compositions with this Umbreon and Blaziken.
Wow, so we see the Armorouge getting picked up by Cream there as well. Kathy Nando picking up the Revenant. Pretty good comp they've built over there, but the Chandelure has been picked up. We don't see that often. It's used a lot over in this EU region because of how strong it can be. Not only do you have the Imprison that is so good for locking down Mons, and you are going to have a Mimikyu diving you, but also Flamethrower does a massive amount of damage.
Yeah, we're going to be picking up the Armorouge. We saw it, I think, in one game so far. I can't tell what ability set Cream is going to go with this Armorouge. Typically you want an eject button if you want to go with that more mage type ability, but the held items that it has leads me to believe it is going to be an armor cannon Armorouge. With that Comfey, though, you can make an argument for it to be the more bulkier build with the Fire Spin, but we'll see.
We have a Zoroark Comfy pulled up there for God Squad, buddy. And this is a mon that I've seen a lot of teams really struggle to handle. I do hope the Imprison can really sort that out, but I know in the EU region, nobody likes coming up against that because of how well it can snowball a game.
Yeah, Zorak is definitely one of those characters that you don't see very often, but when you do, they can quite literally be so impactful in a game. It's very hard to slot in a Zorak, kind of similar to how E-Speed Lucario has really fallen off, is because it has all these dashes. You don't have invincibility on those dashes. The only type of invincibility you have is the full heal that you have as a battle item, or if you are good enough, you can also flex your timing and using that illusion to stop any sort of hindrance. It did get nerfed recently, so you will still be taking damage through an illusion, but you still can cleanse, quote unquote, any sort of hindrance if you time it correctly.
What a battle this is going to be, though. We have a decent amount of AoE damage coming in from both sides if we do see Cream picking up that armor cannon. We witnessed it previously, right? We might need to change who's the god of secure because, wow, did that do a lot of damage. I think the Lecky bottom, the Reggie bottom was on like, what, a third health or something ridiculous like that, and it still got the secure.
All right, round number one of our quarters final set. God Squad appropriately on our purple side, Revenant on our orange side team. Fortunately, does not have the character that has Revenant Ren. That's Saralege going to be taking a bench here. And it looks like a lot of resources heading on into the central areas. Both junglers, really strong level 5 gangs, but I think the advantage in terms of impact in the earlier parts of the game, definitely for that Zorak that should be able to get level 5 very easily.
Yeah, and that's going to be so strong if we see Mimikyu do the same in the top lane. I mean, look at this. They're already level 4. They do have the Comfy there to provide assistance, dropping a lot of damage. We see this Umbreon having to back on up, or even just the Eevee at the moment. So they're pretty weak, but of course, Phantom is pretty good in that bottom lane. Zeraora is now rotated to this top side. Zoroark isn't quite there yet. They're going to have to make the long trek from that bottom blue buff all the way up to this top lane.
Zoroark might find an electric cat in the jungle. I think the Zeraora definitely has vision on it, but you gotta be very careful in between this Comfey and the Zoroark. The full heal popped by the Zoroark player. Lots of experience going over to the left side as all these Swablu's going over to these two characters.
And now we have two monsters up in the top lane. We have 4 from Revenant here. I don't think they wanted to do the Capitan's rotate, but Torchic does need some assistance. Some nice points going into the bottom goal, and they need to make a decision if they want to go for the engage or not. Mimikyu is a really scary mon for them to go up against. Pairing that with the Zorak, it seems like they've decided they want to go their own way. They want to go get back down to this bottom lane and provide some assistance.
Zoroark going to be heading into the central area. Again, Zoroark Comfy is really strong in the early game, but I feel like Revenant has done a really good job at weathering the storm, sending a lot of resources to the top path to prevent this Zoroark plus this Mimikyu from really getting going. They are able to take that blue buff away from Revenant, and they are going to find a Zeraora once again in this tall grass. Got to be very careful, though, but this Comfey, of course, makes all of their engages a lot more safer.
We do see the overheat coming out from the Chandelier there. I like that pick there, Drakey, because you do have a slight opportunity to do a bit of kite when you have that maneuverability coming at you from the Zoroark. Nice pick up there for Zeraora as well. Comfey is trying to get on out of there, but they don't have anyone close to hop on as a collar, and they are going to go down. A nice double KO for Zeraora there. We see some points going in. Mimikyu can try to defend this goal, but what an egg bomb to stop that goal from getting stolen.
Yeah, it's already being brought down to less than 10, so I feel like this Reggie Alecki is not going to provide them a whole lot of value unless they're able to break it here. Zoroark is probably going to head up to the top hat to help their Mimikyu defend this. They can break this with a pretty good overcap, and they will, as the Chandelier, the Lampin at this point is going to break that with a nice 27-point overcap.
And yeah, why does Zeraora and Zoroark have such close names? In my opinion, that is interesting. But there's the Registeel locked in for God Squad, and of course the Lecky is getting ripped top. Sorry, with Blaziken. So nice secure up there. They want to push onto this goal, but they have the Umbreon here to try and stop any scores going in with assistance from that Blissey. The rest of Revenant have showed up. God Squad think, nah, I'm good. I'm going back to my own base here.
Now they're going to retreat back to the safety of their tier 1 goal zone, but a lot of members from Revenant here to try to push onto this pad. Here comes the discharge, going to pull the Armor Rouge over to the right side of the map, and does get the KO right there. The Plasma Gale is going to lock onto the Mimikyu, sending that one blown away. And now we got a nice score here on the tier 2 by the Blaziken, and Revenant really has a really strong early game for this match.
Yeah, you were absolutely right. They've really managed to lock in on this Zora arc. They haven't been able to have as good an early game as they want. Comfy getting a nice secure there, but they do try and push on with that boosted. But of course, they're on that pad. They're going to get that healing assistance, and they need to back out here. That armor kind of doing a huge amount of damage. The bounce off the Swablues to lock in the Umbreon. There's the Unite move. They pick up the Blissey as well. They're looking for the Zero Aura. They want to hunt that down, but the Imprison stops that coming in from the combo. Are they able to pick them up? No weak Draco, but they do eventually lock them down.
Oh, that was super fancy looking. Unfortunately, fanciness does not preserve your life here in Pokemon Unite, as a midnight ignite is going to ignite the battlefield in the bottom path, and a Revenant is going to take a huge bottom path win, and also positioning for this future Reggie spawn.
12 overcap on that bottom pad. We do see bottom and top objectives spawning, as you say. Will we have a rotation for it from Revenant? They seem to want to concentrate on the Lecky. They've obviously had the Blaziken just left alone in that top lane right now. He's been there for like the entirety of the game, just doing whatever it wants. We have a lock onto this Blissey from the Zoroark, but they are going to be struggling against the Fremons there. You've got Lock and CC from that Chandelure. You've got the Blissey assistance. They need some help. Umbreon trying to protect their team there and buy them some zone.
Yeah, this Zoroark is going to be so difficult to function in the latter parts of the game, especially with this ability here. That Imprison is such a mean ability to stop any sort of moves coming out of that Zoroark, either dashing in or also getting away from a team pushing on forward. And pushing on forward is Revenant with this Regieleki as that 6th player on this tier 2 goal zone.
Really want to try and see if they can push this in. It's a risky move. Of course, they do have the springboard up, but the damage from the Lecky is going to be nice. We see the Gale going in. Not a lot of damage. Revenant going down is going to be huge for them. They're going to be able to push this alongside. We see the Umbreon pop in their own Unite move to try and protect from them on that right-hand side. This is going to go in, Draco, and that's going to be a T2 down. Nothing in that top lane for God Squad.
What a huge win, not only in the bottom path, but also in the top path as well. Again, Zero Aura, definitely not a speedster you don't see very often, but making such a huge impact in this game 1 fight. We have about 1 minute left, and I think Revenant has full access for this bottom path. Reggie, let's go ahead and call Ribbon in a little bit early. Ribbon, from the desk, what are you seeing?
I'm seeing a really great team fight coming out here. God Squad really needs to try to get more utilization out of this Comfy. I feel like it's been very disjointed, and they haven't been able to get those maximum value unites.
I feel like the Comfy has really just been sitting on this Zoroark, as we know Comfy players love to do, especially with one of their carries, but I feel like it might even be more advantageous to sit on the Mimikyu or even potentially the Revenant sometimes throughout the game. But Ribbon will check in with you later as we get to the end parts of this game, but the final stretch might be beginning early as the Zero Aura gets a KO streak of 1 on that Armor Rouge.
Yeah, they thought they were going to get away with it as well, but Zoroark was there to answer over from Revenant. And I tell you what, we have 7 seconds until we have a Lecky spawning, Draco. Will we have a rip coming out from Revenant? This could be a win condition. God Squad has to be here because, of course, that home pad is open. It is free for anyone who can get this Lecky, and we might have the engage in this 20-second time slot here.
This is going to be a very dangerous game for God Squad. I got 10 seconds left, and they do have a lot of rip on the side of Revenant, and here comes the green light. Can they get this down in 5 seconds? They have really good secure, and we might see a final stretch beginning early here. Overheat getting the secure on the Regieleki. A midnight daze or a midnight haze coming out of God Squad, but the only thing that's hazy is the amount of players on God Squad still left alive. Armor Rouge is going to go into that Unite move, and unfortunately is going to be losing a lot of members of their team.
Wow, God Squad down to just the comfy, and I don't think, I mean, some people are very good on that Mon Buddy, but I don't know if they can do anything by themselves. Zorak Revenant back for this fight as well. Look at the zoning getting prepared for Revenant over on that side. We have the Umbreon up there with the Zorak and the Comfy, but they just want to dive into this pit. They need to make the team fight do God Squad. That leg is gone in. They're going to capitalize on that Revenant. 467 to 29 now. It might be a little bit too late for God Squad, but they're going to go for the rip here. The armor cannon's there for the secure, but so's the Blaziken. Who's going to get it? Who's going to come out on top? It is Revenant with the secure.
It was definitely coming to the point of no return for God Squad, getting that 200 points in that tier 3 goal zone from the Blaziken, and the Zera Aura really put the nail in the coffin for God Squad. Even if they did get that Rayquaza, they would need to cash in 500 points to even be in contention for getting back in this game. And even if every single player scored in a full pocket of 100, they would still be down 40 odd points.
Yeah, that's like a very rare time that we see it in Pokemon Unite, right? Where the team has got themselves such a massive lead that they don't need to worry too much about a Rayquaza lock-in. But I think you were absolutely right during that game, Draco. I feel like the Comfy should have provided some more assistance for the rest of their team. You have a Trevenant, you have a Mimikyu, heck, you can even get on the Armarouge and provide a lot more assistance as the Comfy player. They were really locked in on just providing that help on the Zoroark.
Unfortunately, the only thing that was locked down was that Zoroark. There's so many tools to make sure they are stuck in place. You have, of course, I don't think they were using Mean Look on the Umbreon. I think I did see a Snarl on that character, but that Imprison, it's such a good ability. I believe you also stop any sort of healing on the Zoroark as well. I actually don't know the how that interaction works. If a Comfey on top of a character gets imprisoned, does the Comfey also get limited in its ability usage? I'm actually not sure of that interaction, but if it is, it's even more difficult to lock down on that Chandelure.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not either. I mean, if people in chat do know, give us a shout. And we hear Ribbon in the background letting us know that the swapping sides. I thought they were letting us know about that interaction. Yeah, an interesting one. What do you think they're gonna do coming into this next game, buddy? Because that honestly really felt like they were struggling in majority of that game.
It's hard to say. I don't think their team composition was necessarily bad, in my opinion. I also think that the draft strategy for Revenant was really strong. There was Mimikyu struggles in really bulky compositions. They do really well in getting those resets off to get more shadow sneaks. In maybe resetting their Shadow Claw if they're using that ability on squishier targets, but it's sometimes difficult to get a Mimikyu going. And when a team is very bulky, like that team was, they have a lot of mid-range crowd control. It's difficult for not only the Mimikyu, but we were talking earlier, the Zoroark too. It's really hard to get those characters going.
Yeah, no, it really is. But what a fight we had. That was fantastic. And let's see if they can come out swinging in this next game. We are just about to get the teams ready, chat. But what do you want to see come out of these games, Riku? Because me personally, I am a massive Gengar fan. I know it is broken on the Hex build at the moment, but I want to see it. I love seeing that little ghost show up on this battle.
That is a character that we haven't talked about at all in the broadcast today, and I'm surprised that we're not seeing any more Gengar. I feel like there's a lot of speedsters that can be fairly viable in this meta game. Of course, Dodrio, Zoroark, maybe not so much in the right hands. I know there's some Meowscarada players that do really well. Shout out to Husky as a Meowscarada resident player for Pandicorn. But yeah, Gengar, it's really strong right now. I think it's a lot stronger in the solo duo trio environment and less organized play, but I feel like it still struggles like many of the other speedsters, right? It does a lot of damage, but at the same time, it's very squishy. I think I know a lot of Gengar players right now are also running Shell Bell, which is a held item that was buffed most recently. I think you also get more healing off of every Shell Bell proc. So let's see some Gengar. I think that'd be a really cool pick.
And I tell you what, we haven't seen a lot of. We've seen obviously loads of Zeraora, and there was a Zorak, but we haven't seen a lot of Leafeon that we're so used to seeing. And I
Yeah.
know, there were those changes in the jungle to the EXP that you can gain from the buffs, and it's a little bit of a delay on that early invade you can get from Leafeon, but it's still very beneficial. So I'm actually surprised we've not seen it banned, and we've not really seen it picked either.
Yeah, I've talked about this before, but it's kind of this this ecology of Pokemon Unite, right? When you see buffs to certain characters, you see the usage of other characters go up or down depending on how well they interact with that character. So right now we're in a very all-rounder dominated meta, right? A very bulky composition for teams, and they also like to play a lot of all-rounders as well. And of course, supporters are just really, really strong. You don't see a whole lot of attackers very frequently. So those squishier targets that speedsters, for example, like to grab, you don't
Mm.
see very often. So you see all these bulkier compositions rise, and you see the squishier compositions start to fall. And these are these ecological interactions between characters, and it's not necessarily that we're doing anything to the speedsters. It's because things around them are changing, and how they interact with those characters improves or affects their viability in a positive or negative way.
Yeah, and I think we have seen some of that as well with these EX mons now being allowed because
Mhm.
there's been a shakeup of what gets banned. There's been a shakeup of what actually comes into play. Obviously, we've seen the ho-ho banned nearly every single game tonight, Drake. That's not really been allowed through like at all. We did think the Amarouge would be in the same situation, but they have leaked that one through in some games. I really
Mhm.
hope we do see some ho-ho because I like watching that, not playing against it, but watching it in a five-stack situation.
Yeah, Ho is a very, very strong defender. Doesn't have, say the crowd control of some of the other characters like Mamoswine or Trevenant, but its ability to stay on the field is par none. It might be up there with Slowbro with the amount of HP reserves and defenses that it has. Even in the main series game, it's a very bulky character. It's typically used as a supportive class character, distributing burns, and in this game, distributing heals, and of course, that res. That Unite move, it can swing team fights significantly. But one of the downsides of that is that it doesn't do any damage to the enemy team, right? Some other defenders can put a mark on them. They can cause a lot of crowd control, like from Blastoise or from Mamoswine. It doesn't have any of that. It's specifically used to get your team back into a team fight.
Yeah, rightly so. But here we go. We've got these bands coming on out. We have the Hooper, the Charizard, the Ceruledge, and the Pikachu. Gohan joining us all the way from the Lord of the Rings, banning in that mascot Pikachu itself.
They're pretty conservative or pretty conventional bans from either team. I think the most interesting thing here is Hoopa. Of course, with these all-rounders being banned up, it's usually the other all-rounder that's available to be selected. Charizard still able to be selected. Blaziken, again, really strong first pick option. When you see a Blaziken on the other side, again, Blaziken loves to hang out in that mid to short range. And what do you do to counter that? You get a lot of crowd control. I really like the Slowbro pick. They can either go with Surf or Skull to reduce the amount of physical attack damage that Revenant is bringing out. And of course, Cream picking up that Armarouge once again has its own form of crowd control with the armor cannon if it decides to do that.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I like the fact that Revenant don't feel too concerned about the Amarouge. They felt like they were really handling it in the previous game. We've got a Mamoswine, Blissey, Blaziken locked in. I think that is one of the best solid cores that you can pick up for Pokemon Unite at the moment. One of the best defenders, one of the best supports, and of course, we don't need to say much more about Blaziken.
And yeah, we were talking a lot about Ho-Oh, and it's not being banned out here, and it's not being globally banned, so it can come out here for either team. We might be seeing that the Zeraora once again. It's not. I was thinking of calling them Electro Man, but it's actually Electo Man.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna.
Speaking of elect, make sure you vote in November.
Yes, we're serious about that. Well, what is going to get locked in here by the loot? We are going to see possibly a speedster. No, they've rolled on over to the all-rounder. Is it going to be the Garchomp? No, the Queen. A little bit of caster's curse there. I was excited for the Garchomp. Me and Kyle had a lot of fun with that casting yesterday, but they don't want to give us that one. But I really do like the picks on both sides here, Drake. Revenant locking in that Chandelure. They know how important that Imprison can be. We saw it working really well in that previous game.
Yeah, Zaloot this time going to be picking up another character with a lot of dashes, the Serena. I don't know, it might run into very similar problems as the Zoroark. I mean, looking at this enemy team, you have the Imprison, of course, we saw in the last game, but now you have to deal with the Mamoswine, right? Mamoswine is another one of those characters that that is a perfect example of the kind of ecological interactions between characters, right? There's nothing done to Mamoswine. in I don't know, forever, right? They have not tuned it up. They have not tuned it down. There's been no adjustments to Mamoswine, but all of a sudden it was so powerful in the World Championships at WCS 2024. And the reason why it's doing so well now is because there are so many all-rounders that like to stay in that mid to short range. And if you're able to grab something with Ice Fang, they can change games.
Yeah, it really can, especially when you use it as sort of like the engage to shut down something coming at you. It's fantastic. So I'm really excited for that. I feel like Revenant have a pretty strong comp, and they came into that game previously really strong as well. So this is going to be all down to them continuing that aggression, and God Squad really need to answer to it.
Yeah. We shall see. God Squad down in a 0-1 back against the wall scenario here. Of course, they have the losers bracket to fall down to. Of course, they want to try to force a game 3 to move on to the semifinals. But Revenant on our purple side, God Squad on our orange side here. We have Armor Rouge once again has not had the best of showing on broadcast today, Tom.
No, it really hasn't, and I'm very surprised at that. In the recent tournaments over here in the EU region this weekend, they have been really, really strong on Friday night. So let's see if we can get a lock into this top lane. The Torchic is there, and it does go over to the side of Revenant. Or was it the Little Mandicorn, actually? I think it was them that locked that in. Who's going to get the Evo first, though? That is what's going to come down to this top lane. I think we do see the Mimikyu and the Zera Aura rotating up here. It's going to be a close one up here.
The bottom path, it looks like the, unfortunately, the Char Cadet Cinders are going to be extinguished in the bottom path, as once again, this Swinub, such a really strong early game Pokemon, has really good auto attacks. It gets freezes on each of its boosted autos. The Icicle Shards can also stun as well. So really strong early game character, but let's head into the top path where it's starting to unfold here. Lots of members with really low HP, and it looks like the Blissey is going to be going down. A KO streak of 2 for the Steenie as 2 characters faint in the top path.
I mean, Mimikyu is having an absolute feast up there, buddy. They may have ended up on low health, but they were not backing down at all. And it seems like they still don't want to. They have the Eldegoss there to provide them. Chansey ain't going to get on out of there. Torchic, still just the adorable little Torchic, needs to find something to give them that evolution.
The Mimikyu, if they're able to reset those Shadow Claws with applying boosted autos on the enemy team, so much consistent damage coming out of that jungle carry from God Squad. Finally able to get the level 5 evolution, so now has access to Blaze Kick. It, of course, gets online at level 7 to get that evolution. It gets overheat, but really struggling in this top path. And we see right there a really good example of why Mamoswine is so good. Of course, they might get KO'd here, but watch that in the later parts of the game. Mamoswine looking for this Mimikyu in that mid to short range, getting those Shadow Claws off. If they're able to get an Ice Fang on this character, can do tons of crowd control, but also allow other members of the team to do massive amounts of damage.
That was a really important engage from Zera Aura. They saw the opportunity. They took down the Mimikyu that was cooking so well, and also the Serena. So they've got themselves back into this fight in the early game here, chat. We have the 720s that have now spawned. Bottom, it's the Armor Rouge versus the Lantern, and the top ones are going to go to the side of Revenant here with some scores also going in to boot. And look at the overheat, pushing them into the wall previously to get the benefit from it. And they do take down yet again the Mimikyu. They were previously really cooking in the early game, but they found the answer to them just in this final minute of this section.
First set of objectives on the field, a very close game. 1 point separates the two teams. They're going to score small on the bottom path, and both teams now really devoting a lot of resources to this top path. A clean 3v3 fight, no Unite moves available. Actually, there is that one play with me Unite move from the Mimikyu, and it looks like Unite move from the Zera Aura, able to get the confirmation there, and is able to blow away 2 characters with that Plasma Gale. Serena and the Mimikyu heading back to the Pokemon Center, and the Regieleki into the Tier 1.
They're going to do some quick maths here, buddy. They're going to get as much of the benefit out of this as they can. There's the 5, there's the 40 dunk going in. Whilst this Regirock is getting a lot of damage pulled onto it. It may even go for a reset because they want to go for the engage over on the side of the team. There's a fucking cannon coming out from the Armor Rouge. That Unite move was fantastic. They were nearly going to go down there. Good lock-in, but here's the Pillar Swipe. They've spotted the low health. Armor Rouge are locking the KO. Regirock does go to the side of God Squad, but that was a nice secure on the Armor Rouge.
Yeah, really good secure on the Armor Rouge, and also one of the coolest Unite move names to join the cast is called Psych Kaboom. By the way, it's definitely a fun name to say if you're a caster. But in the bottom path, though, a tale of two cities as they continue to stare across the bottom path from each other. It's still looking strong for both goal zones. Going to head into the top path where we might see a 1v1 situation here, but Pip Loop is going to head back over to the left side of the map.
Yeah, we've got that Blaziken just looking up in the top lane as well, and it seems like at the moment they're just waiting to see what farm spawns. They want to go and get themselves some extra levels. It seems like Blaziken doesn't want to let go of the aggression. 122 to 61 at the moment as we hit the halfway mark in this game, chat. Revenant obviously 1-0 up at the moment. Let's see who goes for that top objective, because we have a nice tasty battle about to develop in the bottom lane.
And as we head to the halfway point of the game, lots of Unite moves for either team. I see 9 Unite moves available. And take a look at that. Really nice Ice Fang. He's going to pull that Slowbro over to the left side, forcing them to use all of their resources to just escape away from the clutches of this Mamoswine. Still a 1v1 between these two all around. There's a Queenly Ascent is going to use those heals to bring him up into the sky here. The Chandelure is going to join in on this fight, though. Got to be very careful, though. Walking in on a Serena. They're going to use that Unite move, but unfortunately, the stilettos of the Louboutin boots of Zeludes is going to get the KO there.
Yeah, unfortunately that Queen Majesty provided them that extra little boost. They can't get away from it, but we have a massive amount of damage coming down to the bottom lane with some goals going in now. Wow, Serena showcasing why they are the queen in this current game. They can't get the 46 in because of these egg bombs from the Blissey. They're going to defend this goal. That was going to be so close. Richie Dunk going into the T1 though, Drico. That's going to be leaving it on 4, and they are pulling themselves back into this game, a God Squad.
Yeah, they're able to score in huge in the top path as well. It's going to bring the score a little closer to parity. Registeel brought down to 50%. Revenant right now in really strong positioning here. Armor Cannon just a little bit too early. Who's going to be able to get the secure there? I think it's going to go over to our orange side team as the Eldegoss able to pull that away. Now, with that red buff, the increase in damage is going to sweep Revenant under the ground.
43 overcap in that T1 as well. God Squad have now pulled themselves ahead, and the levels are pretty decent as well. Level 13 on Mimikyu already. Serena's not far off themselves. They lock in. No, they don't. Blaziken, the god of secure, locks in the Regieleki there. We see the Unite move coming from the Chandelier. They do need to back up. That Queen is going to be really scary coming at you, but the Blissey is not scared of it at the moment. They do pick up the Chandelier with the assistance of the Mimikyu, and oh my god, God Squad answering yet again. They break down that T1. They are absolutely smashing anyone that comes their way now.
Yeah, that Blaziken might be the god of secures, but right now this Mimikyu Serena combo is making these gods bleed as they are having a pretty significant lead here in levels. 2 level 13s and a level 14 by God Squad. There's about 30 seconds left. We got a little bit of time before the teams start to set up for the central area fight. Ribbon, got a couple of seconds here. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing a lot of action around this Zerora. God Squad needs to shut this Zerora down. It's getting so many high-value grabs. This thing is a menace. It needs to be stopped.
Thank you so much, Ribbon, for that quick analysis. And the fight's already starting to unfold here. Mamoswine being caught out has to be supported as they make their way over to the left side of the field. Blaziken trying to zone out the enemy team with that focus blast, supported by this overheat from the Chandelure. Zero Aura right now trying to get some damage on the enemy team, but right now they're just playing the footsie game, and it's really close game between the two teams. Only about 40 points separates them, Tana.
Yeah, it sounds like they're just going to wait for the opportunity to see who's really in the lead. But what an engage from the Mamoswine. Massive Ice Fang onto the Armor Rouge. They do pop their Unite move. Eldegoss is there to provide some assistance with the invulnerability. There comes the Mammoth Mash. Are they going to be able to lock in the Slowbro? Yes, they do. The Slow Beam hasn't been able to be utilized. The Bliss Assistance is going to do enough. The Chandelier is answering with a triple KO, baby. Now it's just the Armor Rouge and the Eldegoss here. They need to get on something. They need to get on the rip. They need to be prepared for something coming their way. The Armor Rouge is there. They do have the Armor Cannon that can do a lot of AoE damage. It's going to be a close one, this one, buddy. Who's going to lock in that secure? We've got the Blaziken there, and it's the Slowbro! A massive Surf from the slow bro, watching the secure on the Rayquaza, and this Hundo Dunk is going to go straight into this T1.
Oh man, and this arena is going to be here in time for this stoppage on this bottom path, but we have a lot of members from Revenant in the bottom path trying to work their way through here. The game is definitely not over, but the Queen is going to make her final stand.
30 seconds left in this game. They're going to get a huge overcap into that one. It's 303 to 318. They just need one more back cap. We have 20 seconds left of this game. If they can get an Ice Fang or get any points in, whilst that's all going on, 311. One more point is all we need to see, Draco. And I don't think they're going to be able to do it. A 2 KO. And this is going to be a triple KO coming from God Squad. That is ridiculous.
I think it's a 7-point lead by God Squad, but Revenant saw that one slip just out of their fingers. They saw the Rayquaza health bar so low, and then the hero that we never saw coming, the Slowbro, able to get the secure on the Rayquaza, and we see here a 7-point lead by God Squad. This is a game 3, our first game 3 of the broadcast here in our quarterfinal set.
Wow. Of all the Mons in that game, it is the Slowbro locking in the objective with a crazy surf. That's the one Mon you do not want to see coming your way, right? Because obviously it is ridiculously tanky, chat. But look how close this battle was. We got a bit of a lead coming in from Revenant over on that 4-minute mark, but then they really managed to catch up, did God Squad. From that 6-minute mark, they really found their stride in this game.
Oh, you hate to see that kind of thing happen, right? Revenant, they've won the team fight so confidently in that final stretch fight. Chandelure getting a KO streak, I think of 4, 3 or 4 is like all the KOs they got in the entire match was just in that final stretch fight. But, you know, as our friend from down under loves to say, when there's a Ray, there's a way. And it was a very close game and a very valiant effort by Revenant, breaking that tier 1 goals and got a nice overcap. I think that Mammoth one had like 13 points going to that tier 2. So if they were able to even just get those scores off, they would have won. But of course, trying to just defend their team is, of course, a very difficult thing to do.
That it really is, buddy. What a battle we just ended up with there. I think everybody is speechless. I mean, we were running out of words, we were running out of speech. It was ridiculously full, and what an exciting game 3 battle we're gonna have here.
Yeah, and I think teams are just about ready to go, and it's in the caster's desk. It's hard to say any sort of, you know, adjustments, right? That was all Revenant's game, and they just saw that slip right out of their fingers. We're losing the Rayquaza. They had a really valiant push through that bottom path, and I'm excited to see what these teams decide to do. I feel like the slate is wiped clean, and it's now just a best of 1.
Yeah, literally that. And it's not like we've seen anything really break away in regards to the games. Like, we've seen some Mons playing really well, really managing to get some good secures in, but it's not like we've seen an absolute snowball from one of these Mons yet.
God Squad's going to be our second pick team. They have the advantage of picking their first 2 characters, whereas Revenant only has 1 opportunity to pick their first character. And they also have the advantage of that gutter pick, number 10, for Anonymous. Again, that's I Love Zelut in that bottom right corner of your screen. Lots of all-rounders heading up to the ban slots. Charizard, Cerulege, Mimikyu, the ban slot. Same thing with Hoopa as a supporter represented in the ban slot. Very good first pick. I think this is not out of the ordinary. Blaziken, and it looks like a Ho-Oh. We did see a flash of that there. It's still able to be selected as in all of these games. Armarouge is going to be, again, all 3 of these games, Cream has picked up this character.
Yeah, and it is good. The AoE damage coming in from the armor cannon works so well. We saw some really good Unite moves coming in there as well, buddy, but I really want to see this Ho-Oh pulled out. I mean, they've locked in the Umbreon, really fantastic pick. I still want to see it.
we saw a flash of that Gengar. I don't know if we're gonna see it here, but unfortunately they're opting away from it. Going back to the Armarouge pick, very different than Cerulege, whereas Cerulege is kind of defined by that Unite move, kind of like other all-rounders. I feel like for Armarouge, it's the exact opposite. Its general kit is really strong as in its abilities, but its Unite move is fairly dismal. And I think a lot of the community can agree on this one. Its Unite move is very lackluster. It's almost putting it puts that Unite move on yourself. You sometimes use it in a more defensive manner, but it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. It does provide some stun, but I feel like it's counterintuitive, right? For an attacker, you want to use your abilities away from you, and you're kind of using it on top of yourself. It's more advantageous if you're using it with Fire Spin in tandem, but maybe so much for Armor Cannon if you're using it in a way and using it on yourself, you feel like your positioning is already all wrong.
Yeah, and I tell you what, look at the dragons we have on the field here, buddy. We have a Dragon Knight pulled in with Revenant over on that side. We have the Garchomp pulled in over on the side of God Squad. This is going to be a very exciting game. Double all-rounders yet again. We've got the defender, the support, and the attacker over on both sides. It seems like they've gone for very similar comps. Will we see the Hyper Beam? Will we see the Outrage coming from that Dragon Knight?
With that full heal leads me to believe it is going to be a Hyper Beam secure, a Hyper Beam type Dragonite. It's tried and true, right? Dragonite has always been so consistent as soon as it was dropped, and I feel like that sort of team composition has always been really strong, right? Rip and secure. It's been so strong. It's been so strong with. It's still really strong with Blaziken. It's really strong with Urshifu. It's really strong with Dragonite, of course, as one of the first legitimate secure type characters, and it's still always such a strong composition to build if you're able to build that.
Yeah, and while we do have the time, I do want to come back to that Armarouge Unite move. I feel like you should be able to move it. I mean, I don't know if that's how it's.
It moves a little bit, very
Come
small.
on, let me aim it properly. You know what I mean? And then at least it feels a little bit better in that sense.
Game 3, Revenant God Squad coming down from a 0-1. Able to win game number 2 to force a game 3 scenario. Urshifu in the central area, Blissey in the top path with that Torchic. Gible is a character that you were talking about earlier, or Garchomp is a character you really wanted to see. Let's talk about that really quickly, Tano. Garchomp in this current metagame, what do you think?
Well, Gible is a really good strong laner. I really like it. And I feel like the difficulty with Garchomp is if you can get the opportunity to get it online early, have a good early game, you're going to have a fantastic game on it. But it is definitely one of those mons that you need to get online early.
Yeah, Gible is really interesting to play in the top path, right? Typically in an area where there's not a whole lot of experience with these Bumblebees, they do not have an Indie, they do have a Ball Toy, right? But it doesn't have to worry about stacking because it's a more auto attack oriented character. You can really prevent a lot of characters that like to stack, like for example Blaziken in the top path, can prevent them from getting farm, prevent them from stacking. So it's a really strong early game Pokemon, even if it is a level 9 Pokemon overall.
You see the Pikachu Usain bolting up into this top lane, but of course that Red Bear is there to lock in the secure, and Revenant are there to lock in the Mons, secured off God Squad. Some nice points going to go in here, Drake. That's 59 points already scored in that top pad.
Yeah, massive. We're talking about those stacks, and now the Combuskin, or eventually will be a Blaziken, able to get a couple of stacks in that top path, at least 2. And it looks like the Electro Ball not able to get the secure, but valiant effort on the side of Revenant. They're going to go ahead and retreat back over to the left side. And Urshifu able to get that evolution. Of course, they were the central area Pokemon, level 6, and that is going to be the counter towards this secure-oriented team on the side of Revenant. But it's going to be a very huge ask, right? You have that Slowbro to potentially use a Slow Beam to stop any sort of secures on Revenant, but of course you can only use that Slow Beam on one character. If you're going to Slow Beam the Dragonite, you still got to worry about the overheat from the Blaziken too.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the mid-birds. We do have the Wicked coming in from the Shifu. They managed to lock in quite a lot of that, and they're going to do the exact same to the Pikachu. In fact, no, the Armarouge was there to answer that Armor Cannon working a treat. But here's the Dragonite. They've managed to get themselves to the big dragon. Let's see if they can at least defend this goal. They've got 4 coming at them, but we have a lot of damage that can come out of that mon.
Yeah. Also on secures, we're talking about this character as well. Cerulege, not Cerulege, but Armarouge is pretty decent secure with that Armor Cannon, but a huge Hyper Beam. I don't want to let that go unspoken because that was a significant amount of damage coming out of this Dragonite. If you're able to get those Dragon Dances stacked up and then use that Hyper Beam at the most optimal time, you can do a massive amount of damage, not only into objective, but also into enemy team Pokemon as well. And Pikachu with that full tackle can really easily set up secures or set up KOing enemy team with that hyper beam. You can see that right there. I think it was like 20% left on that Reggie stealing a massive amount of damage, and a fully stacked hyper beam can get those secures very easily.
Yeah, this is going to work a treat. It's obviously at level 9 already, and that's a scary mon to come up against this early. We've also got the Lecky locked in by the Blaziken. Amarouge is going to have to back on out here. They want to get some more points in, get themselves at least a tasty overcount before they break it with the 40, and I think that's going to be the situation there. The Reggie Lecky is going to be defended in this top lane, but it honestly feels like Revenant have come out, and they've come out swinging.
Yeah, they're still on this tier 1 goal zone. They're really trying to get this 40 cap from this Dragonite, but they are also getting a lot of KOs as well. Here comes the rest of God Squad. The Urshifu is there. They do have access to that Unite move, but let's see who they decide to use it on. Not even able to get it off. You can see there on the right side of your screen, no yellow light above the Urshifu, so they did get it off, but not to any value here. And Revenant still making their presence known here in the bottom path. Finally close this one out with that goal zone, but they also got a ton of experience by KOing the enemy team.
I tell you what, we are just about to hit halfway in this game, and Revenant are really finding their stride right now. I like God Squad going to grab all the XP because they need to catch up across the board. I mean, level 11 on the Dragonite is going to be scary. At least Garchomp is managing to keep up on that side of things. In the meantime, we're just going to have some more goals going in, or get some stacks in. This bottom objective is about to spawn. Let's see who decides to make the rotation down to it.
Yeah, Revenant's team really strong on not only the objectives, but also in the hindrance as well. They're really leaning in and relying on the overheat and the hyper beam to get those secures, right? With the Volt tackle from the Pikachu and everything of Umbreon's kit prevents them from getting to these two players specifically. There was a Unite move from the Armarouge, didn't get anything out of it. Again, like you were saying before, Tano, you can't really move that thing. So as long as you're able to move out of that area of effect of the Unite move, you can very easily just dodge it, right?
There's nothing worse than setting up that Unite move when you have 4 people in the target and they just walk out with it. It's heartbreaking, buddy, but what isn't heartbreaking is Revenant locking in that Regieleki. They can now put a push onto this T2 if that's what they want to go for. We do see the springboard up, so they might just want to show their faces and just grab the XP in this jungle area. We've got the slow beam popped onto the Dragonite. Are they going to be able to try and secure that there? Oh, this is so close, buddy. There's the Dragonite, the Garchomp Unite move as well. Dragonite has to use theirs just to get on out of there, and Pikachu taking down that Garchomp.
Unfortunately, the communication was just not there on the side of God Squad. Able to get the slow beam on a really good target, but the Blissey right next to the Dragonite, able to support them as they wait out the duration of the slow beam. Unfortunately, God Squad could not capitalize in terms of damage, right? They got the slow beam on the right target, but the Garchomp was working on the Regieleki out of the range of the Dragon Claw, Dragon Rush combo. The Urshifu was nowhere to be found in that specific engagement. Armor just could not do enough damage into this bulkier all-rounder.
They're really getting themselves set up for these rips and secures, though. It's really good macro coming in from Revenant. Of course, that Blissey has just been sat to the side of the Dragonite or the Blaziken. And what a fight we're having here. Shifu has been pushed out with the CC, and there we go. What a lock-in, what a beam coming from the Dragonite. And they're going to clean up here, buddy. I believe at 3:13, we're going to have an ace over on the side of God Squad. Ribbon, what can they do at this moment to get back into this game?
Electoman is electric right here for Revenant. This person is carrying their team right now, and God Squad absolutely needs to put a stop to this Dragonite. They are able to combo with this Blissey too easily, and this Pikachu is getting way too much team fight value. God Squad needs to split up.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, we've got this top Lecky spawning here, Draco. Do they make a rotation for it? We do have the 2 secures from Revenant here ready. It seems like they want to go straight onto this one. Blaziken probably trying to do some zoning whilst the Dragonite gets a lock-in onto it.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right? And God Squad is nowhere to be found here. You have a lot of mobility tools to get a score onto that tier 2 and then back in to the fight in the final stretch. Talking specifically about that Dragonite, if they decide to use that Draco impact to move around the map, but they don't really need that score, right? 236 to 21, a 215-point lead going into the final stretch is pretty significant already.
Yeah, we see that foul place now doing a lot of CC there. Are they able to pick up the Shifu? No, they don't. The slow beam, though, is going to say goodbye to the Dragonite, and that is not a mon you want to see go down so easily. Free from the side of Revenant have been taken back to the Pokemon Center, and we now have a rip on the Rayquaza here, Draku. God Squad trying to do the godly damage onto the Rayquaza, and they managed to do just that. And from the jaws of defeat, God Squad come on out swinging with Hundo Burgers galore into these goals.
And that exactly is the power of the slow beam, right? The first slow beam that was used earlier on in this game, not very advantageous because no one was able to follow up on that Unite move, but you saw it here in a full 5v5 team fight, the ability to lock down a character for 3 seconds, vulnerable to all sorts of damage. The Dragonite could not escape, even supported by the Blissey, could not even escape using their own Unite move.
And we now have a minute left of this game. We have about a 300-point lead over on the side of God Squad, and I honestly do not think there's enough Aeos energy on this map for them to score and win the game just yet. I mean, looking across the board, we do have some good points on them, but I don't know. We've got an engage onto this T2 at the moment. There's the Unite move from the Umbreon, but it's not going to be enough because Free straight down from the side of Revenant. They want to lock into this Dragonite, and unfortunately, Dragon v Dragon, it's the Garchomp coming on top again.
The dragon you got to worry about is the slowest one on the field. It's actually the Slowbro. That was a legendary pick by the Slowbro, right? You know, you don't want to find your Dragonite in the front line. I mean, it is an all-rounder, but it does function more as an attacker with the auto attacks and the hyper beam from that character. They're going to cash in some more points here, but it does not even matter. That slow beam is what is moving God Squad on forward in today's tournament.
It's just the perfect thing to use at that Rayquaza fight. I mean, they really were locking in with Revenant on the secures. They had the Blaziken and the Dragonite doing that for the entirety of the game. It was working for them really well. But if your Dragonite cannot stay alive longer than 10 seconds in the Rayquaza fight, you are not going to be able to get the win from that one.
It's going to be a tough pill to swallow, tough lesson to learn for Revenant, but always got to respect a slow beam from the Slowbro. It was tuned down in most recent two patches ago, I believe. Don't get as much healing in some of your ability. I think the overall health pool of the Slowbro is also diminished, but did not even matter. 110,000 damage from Cream on their Armarouge. Definitely a really strong showing in front of this Armarouge, but I think it's more so because everything around them enabled them to do that much damage, right? A couple of its Unite moves did miss slyly, but all of the utility from the Armor Cannon is where all that damage comes from.
Yeah, and when you're shooting that into the team fights, right, when you've got the heavy melee from the Blaziken, the Umbreon, and the Dragonite, you know, you've got a lot of AoE that comes out from it, so no surprise with that damage. Fantastic play from Cream, but wow, God Squad really finding the answer in the final seconds of that one. That was crazy coming in. What a game 3 we've just had.
Yeah. And once again, like throughout this 3-game series, I don't think the team comp was an issue for either of the teams for all 3 of these games, right? It was all came down to macro decisions, right? In that, or macro and micro decisions. And that last game specifically was more of a micro decision and the bad positioning of the Dragonite specifically that led to their downfall. But really strong showing for both of these teams. Again, Revenant has more shots to continue on in this tournament, as it is a double elimination tournament. So it might not be the last time we see them, Tano.
Oh, I do not think so. We're excited for these next games that are going to come on up, chat. Make sure that you stay here for all of the action. And while you're there, why don't you hit that follow button and give us some love? But hey, we will be back with you very shortly for these next set of games.